Transparency. The principle of transparency in the GDPR is user-centric rather than legalistic. Respecting the rights of the data subjects to be informed, humanitarian actors are required to inform project participants, verbally or in writing, information concerning the processing, including associated risks, rules, safeguards, and data subject rights. The information must be presented in a concise, transparent, intelligible, and easily accessible form, using clear and plain language that the data subject understands, especially when the data subjects are children or other vulnerable groups. A privacy notice, sometimes referred to as data protection notice, privacy policy, privacy statement, or fair processing notice, is commonly used by humanitarian organizations as one of the most efficient methods of addressing the matter of transparency. Aside from the accuracy and completeness of the description of data processing, interventions such as translations to multiple languages and alternative methods to address the issue of illiteracy must be considered to ensure quality, accessibility, and clarity. GDPR requires that data subjects are informed at the time of collection. However, for personal data indirectly obtained via a third party, the information must be provided within a reasonable period after obtaining the personal data and no later than 1 month. Transparency requirements must be met regardless of the legal basis for processing. When adhered to, it allows data subjects to exercise control over their personal data and empowers them to hold data controllers and processors accountable.
Introduction to data protection by design and default. Humanitarian organizations must protect by design any personal data they collect and process. This means that as early as the planning and design phase of any system, service, product, or process, and throughout the life cycle, data privacy and data protection must be integrated. In addition, humanitarian organizations must safeguard the rights of the data subject by default, which entails implementing the strictest available privacy-oriented settings from the outset to ensure data minimization, which means that only personal data necessary for each specific purpose are processed. It is the controller's obligation to implement appropriate technical and organizational measures and safeguards into any processing activity involving new software, products, applications, systems, solutions, or services. Adhering to the data protection principles and the organization's data protection policies and procedures, it must be ensured that the end product or service is robust, secure, and provides protection and enforceability of the data subject's rights. The following are examples of interventions to meet the minimum data privacy and security requirements for software and software development, cross-referenced with the OWASP Application Security Verification Standard. Access control management is based on the need-to-know principle in which users are given the minimum access to information that is relevant to the performance of their tasks. This security measure controls and monitors access to data, systems, and resources through user identification and authentication, role-based permissions, rule-based access, and enforcement of other access policies such as passwords, device controls, and multi-factor authentication, or MFA for short. Encryption scrambles data in transit and at rest into an unreadable format that may only be decoded by using the correct key. Logging and monitoring of changes in files, servers, and networks to ensure traceability and data integrity. Backup and availability measures ensure that personal data is available in a timely manner when necessary, especially in the event of a physical or technical incident. This includes data resiliency actions to proactively avoid disruptions and minimize data loss, as well as data recovery mechanisms to respond to unplanned disruptions and restore lost data. These data protection by design and default measures demonstrate the humanitarian organization's commitment to protect data, respect human dignity, and do no harm.
Introduction to data breaches. By definition, a breach of personal data refers to the accidental, unauthorized or unlawful access, copying, alteration, disclosure, transfer, destruction, or loss of personal data. GDPR categorizes personal data breaches according to 3 well-known information security principles. A confidentiality breach occurs when there is unauthorized or accidental disclosure of or access to personal data. An availability breach refers to an accidental or unauthorized loss of access to or destruction of personal data. An integrity breach occurs where there is an unauthorized or accidental alteration of personal data. Although some data breaches are easily detected, others may not be easily recognized. Breaches involving humanitarian data may be in the form of the following: physical incidents, such as theft of paperwork or devices such as laptops, phones, and storage devices. Misuse or abuse of legitimate access to data due to either neglect of policies and procedures or data mishandling by someone who does not have authorization. An example would be a staff sharing or altering a document without following procedures. Unauthorized disclosure of information, such as sending an email containing personal data to the wrong person or leaving computer screen unlocked. Other security risks include, but are not limited to, malwares, which are invasive codes designed to harm or exploit any programmable device. Social engineering activities, which influence, manipulate, or deceive targets into making security mistakes or giving up sensitive information. Criminal hacking, involving any malicious and deliberate act to gain access to data. Breaches of humanitarian data are extremely detrimental because of the significant risk to the rights, safety, and dignity of the people these organizations serve, which may lead to targeting and exploitation of already vulnerable individuals. In terms of the organizational risks, the breach may disrupt the work of humanitarian actors and cause aggravation of humanitarian situations, expose the organization to legal and financial liabilities, and compromise the reputation of the organization and the sector as a whole. Therefore, following the core humanitarian principle of do no harm, it is imperative for organizations to implement appropriate institutional, technical, and organizational safeguards to protect humanitarian data, thereby mitigating risks to data subjects and maximizing the benefits of humanitarian operations.